Party with your host, Dustin Rybka.
Hello and welcome to Sex Party. I'm your host, Dustin Rybka. With me on the show this week is Alice Lovegood. Alice is taking a break from a fuck-a-thon. She's taking a little time out to do this episode with me. What is a fuck-a-thon, you ask? You are going to find out in this episode. We also talk about polyamory, a little bit about non-monogamy. Alice tells a story about running through the woods away from her partner in a little hunter-prey role play. We talk about what she's doing on OnlyFans, and we dive into the psychological aspects of sex and how they are equally, if not more important than the physical aspects. It's a ton. It's a fun episode. So without further ado, enjoy my conversation with Alice Lovegood.
This week's conversation.
Alice Lovegood, welcome to Sex Party. How are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very tired, actually. I could do with a nap, but...
Do you want to tell them why you're tired? What you just told me offline, because that'd be a great way to start the show.
So basically, me and my really clever little mind decided that I was going to do something called a fuck-a-thon, which regrets. Basically, I said, oh, you can sponsor a fuck, and everyone that sponsors a fuck will get all the fucks, and however many we get we'll do in 24 hours. Well, we had to cap it at 20 because nobody's doing more than 20 fucks in 24 hours. But yeah, we're in the middle of that right now. I think we still have six videos to go later.
So you took a break from the marathon fucking to come to Sex Party. I'm honored. I'm thrilled.
I'm icing the Giny right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we love this. This is the halftime show for your marathon fuck sessions. Okay, so everybody, so they pay the money. And then how long are you guys banging for each time? Does it matter? Does it change?
We've done loads of different videos. We've done rimming, we've done oral, we've done using toys, we've done, there he is, the main man. He's puffing smoke now. Blowjobs, standing up sex, just what else? I can't even. Oh, massages. We're going to do a strip tease later, and then we're going to do anal at the end. We're saving that one.
Grand finale.
When my puss cannot handle anymore, the back door's going to be chime in.
Yeah, you got to move to different places so you can. It's no different, and I say this about porn on the show all the time, but it is no different than being an athlete, really.
Yeah, it's a marathon. We've got the silver coats for the end. We've got lube save here, lube galore.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lube.
To be fair, I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. So
yeah, for sure, obviously. Okay, so after that amazing little intro, let's do the traditional intro. So for the people who have no idea who you are, they're hearing your accent, they're like, "Who is this person? Where's she from? What's she about?" Can you talk a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Alice Lovegood. I'm a sex educator, life coach, and I make essentially ethical, real porn. I'm from Britain. I'm from Devon, so I'm a bit of a country girl. I'm a mum in my real life, and I'm just about to get married. We're in a polyamorous relationship. And yeah, I love destigmatizing sex and kink and all that fun stuff.
No, that's awesome. And I appreciate that because that just sets up the episode even more for to jump in any direction that we should choose. And the first one, I think you said you're about to get married. Congratulations there.
Thank you.
Polyamorous relationship. Okay. What kind? Because this is really, I think, crucial and important. And on this show, we're getting into a lot of polyamory. We're getting into a lot of the different shades of it, because it does have different aspects. Some people are polyamorous this way, that way. So what does your polyamorous relationship look like?
So we're quite new in our polyamory. So I basically personally believe that there's no limitations on love. I have 3 children and I don't love one less because I had another. And I think life is worth for living and experiencing. So we have we have boundaries between ourselves. I wouldn't look essentially for another relationship. We're nesting partners, we're getting married, we're very together. But I wouldn't say no to an experience if I met someone and wanted to be intimate with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then so does it work the same? Does it work the same for him? Like if he finds someone at the pub or something that he wants to hook up with, do you guys ask each other like, hey, or is it like you're doing threesomes, or what? Like, what does it look like more so day to day?
So if he wanted to, then he could, but he's much more monogamous on the spectrum. I do think it's a spectrum. But we do so we've just done our first threesome. And that was actually his first time with another person. We did film that. That was super fun. So I think now we've had that experience, he's oh, actually, I kind of get it, because I think before that, he couldn't necessarily separate love and sex because he'd only had sex with me and we're in love. So now he's oh, yeah, okay, I can see now. So before it was more just me. And that kind of came from work, being with other women, and then him. I think we've done a lot of internal looking at where these feelings come from, jealousy, or why don't I want them to be with another person, and kind of reflecting on that, because a lot of it I think comes from insecurity, pain from the past. We did a cucking scene recently. I watched him. It's been a fantasy of mine for a long time to watch him fuck someone else. I love being voyeuristic and stuff like that, and I did enjoy it. But there was a particular part in the scene where he cupped her face and said, "You're really fucking good at that," when she was giving him a blowjob, and I was like, "Ooh, no, didn't like that." But it was because it's come from the competitivity in me. It's come from that feeling oh, am I as feeling I'm not good enough, and it's those feelings that are affecting me, not his behavior right now. So I think that's a lot of polyamory, is being able to feel those negative emotions and work through those emotions and seek support in those emotions. So yeah, that's kind of where we are right now.
So when that happened in the scene, when he cupped her face and gave her the compliment about the blowjob, did you react in the scene, or did you wait till it was after to voice that it bothered you?
So in the scene, I kind of got up and I used toys and stuff so that I was involved, and then I felt a lot better. But yeah, so I literally just got up and got involved, and then I felt fine. And then afterwards, I just told him how I felt and what happened, and we had we went out for dinner, we had some drinks, and then when we got back, we had a reconnective sex essentially, and it was a lot of me going, "You're fucking mine," and then he and we saved cream pie for us. So we have things that are ours we can't do with other people, which makes it nicer as well.
Sure. Yeah, because I think a lot of it, and I just think doing the show for as long as I have, I think it's a total negotiation almost, right? And I think you have to, not just negotiate, like it's a business contract, right? But like you're constantly renegotiating. And then maybe something comes up like, you know what? I agreed to that. Don't like it. And then you got to kind of like change it around. So it sounds like that rings true for your polyamorous and whether it's content or whether it's in your personal, it's constantly a negotiation, because that kind of stuff can fuck people up, like, and I say it all the time, but no one wants to be screaming a safe word during a fucking threesome. That's like that's the last place. So you don't want to be screaming bananas at the top of your lungs. That kind of ruins the vibe or whatever.
Or meat.
But yeah, I mean, because people like can get very, like, for instance, so I had this girlfriend a long time ago. We won't mention names. She knows who she is if she's listening or watching. I doubt she is, but great person. At a certain point in the relationship, we sort of discovered through like experimenting just with like role playing and whatever, that there was something about her seeing or visualizing me with like her friends, and it would make her like insanely horny and turned on, but also like insanely kind of like angry. So there was this like balance, and we tried a couple things a little bit. We never went like full, but like kind of close. And it was very interesting just psychologically that it can really walk the line between horny and pissed.
Yeah, but I think the thing that I realized, because I actually did like a video on like reflections and how I like how fantasies sometimes aren't what they are in your head, and that it's actually okay. And the comments, like so many people were like, it's not okay to feel those feelings. And I think so we're brought up, like this generation are brought up in a world where we literally just avoid negative feelings. Like everybody's like, if it feels bad, like if it's negative, like no, that's awful, you shouldn't even risk feeling those feelings. And my point is like, it's okay to struggle with things if you've got the right support and ability to work through and communicate those feelings, then it's fine. Like we can't run from bad feelings. You just can't.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's a a therapeutic psychological approach to that, where it's like just embrace it as you would anything good, right? You just let it be right there. That's a huge thing in therapy, but also too, like, no fucking guts, no galaxy, guys. Like take the fucking ride, take the goddamn risk, you fucks. Like that's what, and mainly I'm not talking to like my wonderful, beautiful, intelligent audience, but there are some people like in the comments, especially like on the Sex Party Facebook page or on the Instagram, where they're commenting like these kind of relationships are never work out and someone always ends up angry. It's like, bro, either something happened to you and let's work through that, or you're just being a fucking hater. Or you're like, scared.
I saw a thing the other day. It was like, oh, you don't. Everybody, when you have a breakup in polyamory, everyone's like, yeah, it's because polyamory doesn't work. But when somebody breaks up in monogamy, that nobody's like, yeah, it's because monogamy doesn't work. Like someone cheats in monogamy, and nobody's like, well, it's because you're polyamorous. When likely it probably is because they're poly and just don't know how to tell people.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, it seems like undercover, right? There seems to be more polyamory happening than there is in the public space or whatever. But that, I feel like those gaps are starting to close slowly. Would you say that's true, or do you think there's still a lot of resistance to polyamory?
I think it's easy to think that there isn't because of what we do and the community that we build. It's almost like an echo chamber of our thoughts sometimes. But in the general population, it's not. I don't think it's understood. And I think particularly from a male perspective, like my partner, I think a lot of it is like, oh, I don't want to be like it thrown in my face that you're banging other men. It's like emasculating for him almost. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
it is based in that patriarchal, oh, you own a woman and she's not allowed to go anywhere. And if she does, then you're weak. And there's so, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
all right. It's all right for him. Like, he's like, yeah, I get to bang other women. But he's like, shh, don't tell anyone about the men.
Yeah, right. So okay, what would your definition, if you had to tell the difference between non-monogamy and polyamory, right? This is something that comes up all the time. What's the difference between the two? Is there a difference? I mean, your own personal intimate definition of the difference between non-monogamy and polyamory.
Well, putting it down to complete basics, it would be monogamy is exclusivity in a relationship, and polyamory is openness in
Sure.
some way or another. Because there's so many different branches. Like, I wouldn't call myself entirely polyamorous because I don't have multiple relationships. I think I could, but that's a boundary that me and my partner are kind of, we're working on. But then there's just like open, and then there's swinging, and then there's so many different branches, but closed and open is the easiest way of
Yeah.
defining it.
Yeah, I mean, I always boil it down to, non-monogamous is like, it could be anything. It could be hookups, relationships, whatever. And when you get into polyamory, it does seem to be more relationship-esque based, where you're open to having more, sex and sex and sex and. So it's like sex and you're going out to dinner maybe, or like whatever your emotional connections. Polyamory tends to be more sex and also emotional based. That's how whatever. But I just wanted to see if you would vibe with that. I want to jump to, how you got into this work. When did it start? Tell us your origin story. Were you interested in sex and just things that maybe your friends weren't, and you just kept pursuing it, or these thoughts kept coming, or whatever? But where did you start? Where did you get the idea? Like, okay, there's something here.
So I've always been like mega horny. Maybe because of my bipolar, I don't know. I'm just hypersexual, and so originally it actually started. So I was pregnant, and I was like way too much for my partner. We were monogamous at the time, and I was like, I need some kind of outlet, like sexual outlet, creativity, and I'm a fetish. Like, I could probably make some money because lots of people love pregnancy content. So I kind of started, and then was like, I'm making a lot more money and I'm a lot happier than doing. I used to work in like social care, health and social care. So I was like, I've flexibility with being at home. I get an outlet and I'm making money. It just makes sense to carry on. And then I found that, so personally, when I was younger, I went to porn for education. I wanted to see what sex was like. And so I went to porn, and I got a very warped idea of what sex was. And I also found that a lot of the people that were coming to me, like, there was a lot of virgins, there was a lot of people that carried loads of shame over their kinks, there was a lot of people that were really misguided on how to talk to a woman or how to, and then I found I was helping them, and they were like, oh my goodness, I can actually I have a relationship now, or I have like intimacy with my partner, I'm able to talk to them about my needs. And I was like, I feel like there's a real need for like real porn, real intimacy, real connection, real showing all the consent and the cuddles and the, oh, can you get me some lube, or can you get me a glass of water, or like
Can you get me both?
love,
Right.
yeah. And like also an opportunity to teach, because you can't just stick a dick in an arsehole and expect it to be well received. So I started I did a course, I qualified, I did the life coaching course, and I just really started building this audience, I guess, this community, and then the Instagram has just kind of blown up over the last like couple of months from nothing to now 120k. So, and my page has completely gone bonkers. It's so incredible. I'm so thankful for everyone. But yeah, I do like, you know, anal guide, or I do like how to be confident in the bedroom, or, you know, an anatomy of clitoris, how to make a woman come, and then like a brat scene, how to make a scene, how to do aftercare. It's really wonderful. I love making the content. It's something I'm genuinely really passionate about, and everyone seems to really like it. So
Yeah, I mean that's what drew me in. It was late one night. I was doing like a search for guests, and I'm like really picky about who I have on the show because I have fucking OCD and I'm a psychopath, you know. And so I stumbled onto a piece of your content, which obviously led me to your page, and your page is amazing. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I just want to recap what you just said because I think it's important to your story, right? So you started out, you had this insatiable kind of like horniness. You were pregnant. The partner was there, but wasn't quite giving you all that you could want and desire. So then you were like, I'm going to start making content, right? Okay. So it was a lot of solo content at that time.
Yeah, at the beginning, and then it just got. I think the OnlyFans and making content gave me and my partner the opportunity to talk about sex in a way that we had never talked about sex before, and like exploring all these different kinks. So like I found out that I have like a wet kink and a milk, like lactation kink, and he had the same kind of development, and now I can't keep up with him. I didn't know how that man is ridiculous. But he like broke down a lot of his own like stigmas and barriers and really opened up, and now we're having the best sex we've ever had in our life.
Wait, what was the kink you mentioned before the lactation kink?
So wet. So like I just love anything that's like wet and messy, like
give us some examples.
So squirting, milk, oil, anything that makes like a wet noise, like cum, like messy wetness. I love it.
So is that like a urine thing too?
Not so much. Not really.
Yeah. Well, you know,
yeah.
You never know where the line is.
Like, I've heard a couple things where like they've talked about, and I'm like, oh, I could. But I think for me, part of it is experiencing it with someone else, and if they're really into it, then I'm like, oh, I love. A lot of my kinks stem from being like giving someone something that they've never had or something, and they're like, holy fuck, this is hot. So if they're into it and then I do it, then that makes me like, so the milk thing is a lot from that. It's something that not everybody can do. And then when I like squirt it out all over them and they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's incredible because if you were doing OnlyFans and you're making money, you're enjoying it, you're pregnant, right? And then you're also like having these people come to you because a lot of and people don't get this about OnlyFans either, but it's like there's a lot of conversation that goes along with the content. People are telling you what they're into. They're telling you maybe about, you know, how shitty their day was, or like they had an ex that was an asshole, or like whatever, right? So then you start to realize, oh wow, not only is there a need for conversation and education, but like I kind of am feeling it that I want to do it. So then you added the educational, life coachy, sex educator piece to it then. Yeah, no, that's fucking, I mean, you literally learned in the trenches, right? Because it was based on something you needed, and then you found other people that needed things, right? And then started providing for them. So that's like, that's really, really incredible. So congratulations there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, what a great natural progression, right? You like found it, then found that, and now you're here. And then to jump over to your page, I mean, how do you pick your content? Is it like, because you do tackle things and you tackle them like in an educational way, but also like in an entertaining way? A lot of kink stuff, shame stuff, but also a couple things we'll talk about here in a second. But how are you picking topics? Like, for instance, I saw you just did something on free use, right? And I love the free use thing, because I feel like this is, I don't want to say it's new, but in the culture, you're starting to see free use, the words, like more on the porn sites and more in like literature. So what is free use, right? And how did you pick that to talk to cover?
So free use is essentially you're essentially giving consent unless you actively withdraw consent. So unless I safe word, I'm consenting. So he can just, and it's usually like, for me, it's like a part of my bratting. So it actually happened like organically for us. It's something we've done for a long time. We didn't be like, oh, we want to do free use. We've just always kind of done it. And it's like me being bratty, so I'm refusing to pay attention to him, but he can just use me, and it's just something we find really hot. So, you know, if I'm washing up and he like lifts my skirt and will just fuck me, or we've got quite a deep connection where he's really good at knowing whether I am actually like up for penetration. Some people use like jewelry or a symbol that they are consenting. But like, even like if I'm like no, he'll like just wank and come all over my chest. Like, it's essentially like seeing me as a sexual object to be used. And he can just help himself as and when he wants, but I won't necessarily be an active part. So that's what free use is for us. It comes under the bracket of CNC. But there's like lots of different aspects of CNC. So there's free use, there's like somnophilia, which I think I did a video on, which is sex while you're asleep. There's like rape play, which is when you actively role play not wanting sex. And then there's like primal play, which is another one we really like, where like, you know, run and it's like the chase. But then when he catches you, you'll probably be more like, yeah, fucking let's go, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, yeah, it all makes sense. Well, have you guys ever like incorporated like a costume or something into it? Like, has he chased you around as like the scream killer or anything yet?
No, so role play, there's I'm into lots of things, but there's a few things that just don't really do it for me. And like, role play is one of those things I like to kind of be myself in the scenes. And then like public play is another one that I'm just not down for. I like the idea, I like being an exhibitionist. I like having the windows open or being, but I don't like the idea of being caught. I think that hits my brake. I'm scared that, you know, somebody might see something they don't want to see, and that stops me from being able to be sexual. But I do like, say, like we've had sex in swimming pool changing rooms, for example, where like, you know, they're all there, but they don't know, and you've got to be quiet. But yeah, we haven't like, we've dressed up for content, or I love putting on like a dommy outfit, like latex and stuff like that. But it's, again, usually for us, it's like a bratty thing. Like, I'm like, I'll fucking dominate you, you bitch. And then he's like, no, you won't.
Yeah. That's great. That's fucking awesome. And I just want to jump back real quick and sort of just, you know, dumb down the free use thing, because I think it's newer, and I like to, like, you know, define everything out for the audience. So basically, free use is like, you're like, hey, I'm consenting in advance to, you can have sex with me whenever you like, you can do whatever. And then it sort of carries forward until you use a safe word, meaning it could go on for days, weeks, months, right? However long you choose to be in that free use space. Free use meaning he can walk up to you while you're like typing on the computer and like put his dick in your mouth, or like, you know, hit it from behind, or masturbate on you, or you could be trying to cook and he has sex with you, and you don't necessarily have to interact with him while he's doing it. he's just doing it almost as if you were like an object, like a doll, like a plaything. So
Yeah.
that's the free use. Okay. So yeah, and that is like rising in popularity. That's like, you see that on Pornhub, you see that like in a lot of the erotica like stuff that people write, in the blogs online. And then also you did say CNC, which stands for consent non-consent, which is similar but very different, where you're consenting to not consenting, basically, right? Like, so you're like, hey, you can come through the door and have sex with me, even though I am saying no, stop, no. So it's like basically rape fantasy, or like
Yeah.
control power fantasy.
Yeah, it's usually like much more like role play based. You'll have a scene that you want to act out. Some people, like you say, leave their door open, and the person will have like a thing over their head. Or we do that a little bit, but it's more like, again, it's like a bratty thing. Like I'll fight back, and I get like rolled up into a ball and fucked until he's finished. But we haven't so much done. We've done like a wood scene where we went for a picnic, and then he was like, run, and I had to run. But that was more like primal. So there's so many different brackets. It gets really complicated, but yeah.
Yeah. Maybe everyone should like if you're gonna be like running through the woods, like maybe have a nap and make sure you're hydrated before you do all that. When you were running through the woods, though, let's stay on this. This is very cool. When you're running through the woods, were you able to really get into it and feel like
it was
like
so
you were
fun. It was just like really like just hunter prey, like fear, and like it felt like chase, and then obviously like he caught me. But it did make me laugh when I did a video on it, like a reel, and people were like, I could never catch her, I'd have to have a bike. Or someone was like, I'm disabled, I'll have to roll. I was like, oh, it's so cute. Like,
yeah, you could have your own version of it, right?
yeah,
To chase.
come on, we'll get some roller skates.
Totally. Yeah. Or a skateboard, or a fucking, a little lime scooter, whatever.
And someone else said there was one where they'd done like a scene like this, and he had tied her up and put her in the car, and she managed to get out of the car and run, and the police got them, and they had to be like, no, we're playing, it's consensual.
Oh no! What did he put her in the car, in the trunk somewhere?
He put her in the front, but she was like tied up, and she managed to like wiggle out and like run away. And the police.
Wow!
So he was like, just make sure if you do something like this, you have like a contract and a recorded video to say you're going to do it in case the police arrest.
How did they get out of that one with the cops?
I don't know. It was just the comment, so I don't know.
That's so funny.
That's hilarious. No, we're playing a game.
Yeah, right, buddy. You're about to play another game behind bars. So okay. So when he caught you in the woods, did you guys just like fuck it out in the dirt then, like right there?
Yeah. So it wasn't like I didn't like resist once he caught me. It was very much like you've caught me now, and let's go.
How long did he chase you for?
It felt like ages. I was like, oh, I better catch me. I'm running out of steam.
You're like slowing down. Like, all right, come on.
But to be fair, he is quite fast and I'm quite slow, so it probably wasn't as long as it felt like.
Yeah. And then was he like making sounds, like screaming and like making like little weird, crazy like hunter noises and shit, or no? None of that?
No, it's just running, and I was like, ah!
Was this at night or during the daytime?
It was in the day. I'm surprised we didn't get caught, to be fair. Like, someone like, what the fuck is going on? But it was fun. Right. And then afterwards, like, you get such an adrenaline rush. Like, it's so nice to, like, reconnect after and just cuddle. And aftercare is lovely. And being in subspace is, like, the best feeling ever. You feel, like, high. I think, yeah.
Well, if you could, right, define subspace. I love this term. This is the first time it's been used on here. I'm obviously familiar with it because my partner is very submissive. So, but from you, a professional, if you would define subspace.
So subspace is essentially like a euphoric state of like when you've completely submitted. It's like it is literally like feeling high, like your brain doesn't really work. And you just feel like euphoric. That's the only way I can really explain it. Yeah, euphoria is it's lush, but your brain doesn't work. So make sure you eat and have cuddles and someone to look after you, because you're usually like.
Yeah, I feel like it's either close to and again, like I'm more of a dominant person, so I have my own thing, right? But I feel like, you know, in my past with women, there's always a term like either cum drunk or dick drunk, where you're just sort of so intoxicated from the sex that it feels like this euphoric, almost like do whatever you want to me kind of thing, where you're like, you're kind of like mumbling and like saying like shit that doesn't make sense, you know, hence the term like dick drunk or whatever. So I think maybe subspace and cum drunk are maybe like cousins or something, it feels like.
Yeah, very similar. And I think like it's just maybe a bit more intense because obviously like orgasms you get that like that lovely relaxation, but I think when you add like submission and pain and almost that like the anticipation and then the all of the different chemicals you get from the sensations you're feeling, and also like that complete letting go to someone else, it's very meditative. I'm someone with ADHD, and for me it's like so relaxing because my brain is usually so overwhelming. It's almost like normal sex doesn't stimulate me enough. I can be fucking and be like, oh, it's Grandad's birthday on Tuesday, and it's like, so I need that like extra stimulation and that ability for someone else to take control for me to get that beautiful cum drunk feeling.
Yeah, I mean, you need someone to like almost like command your attention and box it in and dominate it. And I think that's a big part of it's not just like, hey, like throw your partner down and fuck them till they can't fucking breathe, right? It's that plus the at least again for me, it's that plus like the psychological dominant sort of controlling, obviously with consent, y'all, but like that is such a big part. I think people miss that psychological aspect, and I think that there is no education telling, besides people like yourself, there is no one's telling us how to have psychological sex along with the physical sex, and that's my favorite shit. We talk about it a lot on the show. I mean, how important would you say, and maybe how lacking is the psychological aspect to sex?
Oh, it's the biggest part. Like I think you could, you know, smack someone up and that's not fun. It's the having to behave or having to do like, oh, you know, yes, what? Yes, daddy, yes. Or like, you didn't thank me. Like, it's the playing of the game and the anticipation and the reward and the power and it's like a dynamic. It's so much more fun. It wouldn't be fun if it was just like getting a beating. It's like a game. And like with my partner, like we have, I'm bratty, which not everyone is, but that's like part. I can up the ante. People don't realize there's a lot of power in submission. It's not just like, oh, do what you want to me, I'm going to lay here like a floppy fish. If I want him to be rougher with me, I'll spit in his face. Or if I want him to reward me, I'll be good. Or if I like, it's a dynamic together. It's a dance, and it's so much fun. Yeah, and I guess there does need to be a lot more like education on that side. It's something I will actually actively see if I can do. I'll take some notes, and because that's not something I've covered as much, I don't think, the psychological domination and submission.
Yeah, because there's the and I found myself doing this with my current partner is I was so into her that by the time we actually had sex, right, I took like all of my years of sex knowledge and I just put it into a very performative, like, I'm gonna fuck you until you're scraping the ceiling for help kind of a thing. And while that's all well and good, it wasn't until I sort of relaxed that and then became more of myself psychologically that our sex just like blew like everything's on fire. Holy shit, this is awesome, right? And I think that is so fucking important to not just because I think coming from a dude standpoint, I think men just like want to get in there, pound it out, not dirty talk, and get the fuck out. And I think that that's a huge problem with a male-female relationship is that the second you make it more psychological, boom, like I feel like that's the female component that they need, but also it's so much better for you as a man, and nobody's talking about it. So yeah, if you can fucking make some content on it, that'd be great. We're ordering that right now. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because like most men are they are spontaneous. They have spontaneous desire, it's called, which essentially is because as you grow up, when you get horny as a person with a penis, you have a hard-on, and that tells you you're horny. So what you see in that time, you're like, oh, this is what makes me horny. Whereas people with vulvas, women, they don't have that outward symbol of horniness. So for them, the majority of women are what's called responsive desires. So they need the situation and the context to make them horny rather than what they're necessarily seeing. So that's why it's much more of a mental game for a woman than it is a man. But like you said, if you play her right and you get her to that point, you're going to see a lot more horny stuff. So then it's better for both, because what's better than watching a woman in space? Like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Like, fucking cum drunk subspace. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I looked awful then. I was like literally like demented. I think one time he started singing the Doctor Who theme tune. I was like, I must have looked terrible. He was like, no. That's why I like.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, speaking for myself, and you know what, speaking for all men, because I can and I will, right? Fuck it. I'm a podcast host. I can do that. We love when y'all look just totally fucked up. Yeah, like that's just the best. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And on the psychological tip, we all know that women get hit on more than men. Women have more choices than men in most cases. This is a great way for dudes to stand out to women that they desire, is to be psychologically sexual. Don't just be like talking about your fucking boner and where you're gonna
shoot. A really bad like bird's eye view of a dick pic that's just the top of it with feet in the background. Like, I do that on my page. So I do dick pic tutorials. Like, if you want to know how to take a really good dick pic, like, I'll help you out, brother. Like, they need to know.
That's great.
The worst one I ever got, there was an actual shit in a toilet behind him. I was like, dude.
Wow. Yeah, I wonder what that guy's doing right now. That's not there's no future there at all. At all. No future. I mean, what do you even say back to that?
I was like, dude, like, I'm not even going to respond to that. Like, like, please try
Yeah.
again.
Please go back to fucking school.
I had any level of horn left in me.
Yeah, Jesus. He fucking beat it out of you with one punch. Oh my God. That's fucked up. Okay, so what can people expect if they head over to your OnlyFans? Like what kind of content are you doing? Is it a big, menu of things they can order from plus stuff you're popping out there? Like what can people expect?
I'm mainly, I don't do much PPV. Most of my stuff's on the wall. I like showing off, so it didn't make sense for me to put it behind a paywall. So you get boy, girl, 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 boy, girl, girl, boy, boy, girl, like just everything. But it's all real. Like, it's genuine experience, genuine connection, genuine orgasms. I don't fake anything unless I'm doing like a specific role play scene. The only thing I like ask for extra is like customs and sexting and cock rates and like this fuckathon we're doing, and then like some kink stuff. But I genuinely have it all out for people to see. The most things I get so I do like quite a lot of audio stuff. I do something called a ramble fap. That's quite fun, which is basically where I just have a little chat about my day and have an audio wank and buzz away. That's fun. Or I do like JOIs, very wholesome JOIs, like I'll make you feel good and tell you like about the hormones that are going to rush your body and how you shouldn't feel bad about playing with yourself and guide you. Very like soft mummy type thing. And then me and my partner do a lot of content on there. That's what we mostly get compliments on because it's real. Like, it can be like lovemaking or actual like dom and brat scenes, and it's a lot of like experimentation together, which is fun. I think people really enjoy seeing us, like the threesome, our first threesome. And then I have, I do content with girls, which I just fucking love sex, so it's all really real. And then I'll chat to you, easy peasy. And I do like guides as well. So I've got like an anal guide on there, body confidence, self-love. I've got like a wholesome, like, make love to me, like POV stuff. Honestly, if you thought about it, it's probably I've done it.
Well, what, like on the threesome tip, right? Like, what do you prefer personally? Do you prefer yourself with two men, or yourself with a man and a woman, or yourself with two women? I mean, so because I feel like this is very.
I prefer with a woman.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, because I like women too, and I like watching. I like being the center of attention, but I like the thing I really love about when I have a threesome is like, it's like, you can fuck her, like, look see how nice I am, look how good he is at fucking, but he's mine, like, he's coming back to me, but see, he's well good.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that gets me off. And like, even when we had the threesome recently with my friend Peach Dom, she's a wonderful human. I like to like be like, yeah, fuck her, like, or like grab her head, and like I'm not someone who's like, pay attention to me completely.
Yeah, and the times where it was you and two dudes, like, was there something that you thought going in that
Also, we haven't, so that's booked in, but we haven't like actually done that video yet. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But I'm just nervous about, well, one, like, what do I do with all these dicks? Like, I'm gonna have to, one in the mouth, and also, I know that if my partner's not enjoying it, then I won't enjoy it, and I'm nervous about how that will go. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I always love to ask about that when that comes up, because I feel like there's like multiple camps when you talk to women about having sex with more than one man at the same time. One's like, oh, I can't wait. All the attention's on me. I love it. I love it. I love it. And the other one's like, oh my God, it sounds like so much work. I don't know what to do. So that's why I asked to see which side of it. But if you haven't done it yet, then
Yeah. See, I would love to do one like with 2 bi guys. I think I would be really into that, because they can enjoy each other as well. But yeah, with 2 straight guys, it's obviously all on me, which I don't know. We'll see.
yeah.
But I have got a bit of the thing for being like full and completely dominated. So if I'm passive, I think I will really like it.
Yeah. I mean, that totally tracks. That totally makes sense. Before we let you get back to the fuck-a-thon, I love that this is the halftime show. This is amazing. Could you give some advice, just like, I don't know, to whomever you want, but just the idea that there's people out there that are confused. They want what they want, but they're not quite sure what they want, if that makes any fucking sense at all. They're a little lost. They feel shame. What would be like if you were going to be shot into space or set adrift in the ocean, what would your last piece of advice about sexuality be to the audience?
That's a...
No pressure. No pressure
Yeah,
at
I know,
all.
right? I think my overall message is, personally, I believe we only get one life, and we've been gifted this amazing ability to feel pleasure, to connect with ourselves, to connect with others, to explore our bodies and sensations, and to create completely different worlds essentially in this adult playground. If this was a product that society could sell, it would be billions of pounds worth. And so because they can't sell it, they try and stop us using it. So just don't have shame. Just enjoy your body. One day you won't be able to.
No, that's fucking beautiful and awesome. Yeah. Alice Lovegood, thank you so much for being with me on Sex Party this week. Let's tell these party-going people where they can find you, where they can buy all of your OnlyFans things. They can dump all their money out onto your account, and where they can follow you online.
So my Instagram is bettersx.blog. I have a blog as well where I do a weekly post you can subscribe to. That's all free. I have a TikTok, which is Alice Lovegood XO. My Twitter, which I'm not going to tell you because you see some milky boobies on there and then you might not subscribe. And then my OnlyFans is Alice Lovegood as well. So
I appreciate you being here. We will definitely have you back, and I will make sure everything is linked for the audience below. Wherever they're hearing this, just look below. But thanks for being my guest today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Big thank you to my guest, Alice Lovegood, for taking a break from her fuck-a-thon to be here with me this week. Go check out everything she is doing on OnlyFans, on Instagram. If you guys want to see more guests like Alice, if you want to see Alice again, right? If you're loving Sex Party, if you're enjoying the weekly blast of sex, chaos, and education, right? Can we call this education? I think we can. If you're loving all of this and you just want more, how do you show that? How do you show that desire? Well, I'm really glad you asked, because if you're listening on platforms like Apple and Spotify, you could subscribe to the show. That's the most important thing you could do. You could also leave a rating. You could leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, oh no, help me. And if you are watching on YouTube, you could subscribe to the channel. That's the most important part. You could like the video. You could leave a comment. As always, you guys can reach out to me in the DMs on Instagram, although Instagram is acting a fool lately. But I will see you right back here next week.
Thanks for listening. The party continues next week. Click subscribe and let's make this a regular thing. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at SexPartyFM. Follow Dustin at Dustin Rybka.